Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining me. Today's video, how I chose and research my drone flights. Hope you enjoy it. Drone flights, unlike normal days out, require quite a bit of planning. Now, hopefully the viewer of the end product won't consider this planning and just enjoy the final video. It might be a castle, so they have expectations. Will they see enough of the castle? Will you stop important points? Will you show them areas they might not see? I think that's a very important part of drone photography. We're showing the viewers things they possibly haven't seen in such detail, or from angles they hadn't even attempted to see from in the past. And for the elderly and infirm amongst us, we're going to take them to places they could never walk to or never aspire to see. So that's the challenge of drone photography. I can think of many instances where I've flown across field after field to get to a cliff edge and then carried on going out to sea and then turned around to show that cliff edge. Well, it affects me, and I'm sure it affects the viewers. So that's why we make drone videos, and that's what we're trying to achieve. A vital part of drone photography and videography is composition on the go. I don't really know what to expect, but I do love the challenge. So getting back to research, what are the tools I use to prepare me and the drone for what I might encounter at a cliff edge, a castle, a monument, a landmark? The list goes on. Taken for granted, we need a drone with full batteries, multiple batteries, and in good flying condition. That's the very basic. We want to get to the take-off point, take off safely, fly to the objective, get the video, and then return to home, land, and then stop the video recording. All of this just so we've got footage to edit and produce at a later date for any YouTube channel you might have. The personal satisfaction of seeing your efforts finally on the screen, well, it takes some beating. I love it. Back to the preparation. We've got a airworthy drone with plenty of battery life. We've got our equipment, and a lot of the time I use a tripod with the controller, an iPad mounted to the tripod and screened by a sun shield. So I'm giving myself the best chance of seeing as much as I can, whatever the conditions might be. Yes, I do take the controller off the tripod and hand hold it on occasion, and it is comfortable to do that. But I do like the fact that the tripod gives me a little bit of stability, and therefore the controller and the iPad are more useful. I'll leave that for you to decide whether to sample a tripod mounted controller. It isn't for everybody. Those of you that also do photography may well utilise one tripod for your camera with a long lens, and for the drone, swapping between them. So it is a case of multitasking. Which is a good thing, and it seems like we're beating the system when we make one thing do more than one job. Right, back to the beginning. We've got the drone, it's airworthy, we've got the controller, anything else we need? What about the location? I'm afraid I can't answer where I get inspiration from. I just see somewhere, it may be the news, it may be another YouTube video, although I don't look for inspiration on YouTube. And I certainly wouldn't like to think I'd viewed somebody else's videos before making mine, because that would slant my approach. Yes, I have watched other people's videos after mine, But shall I just say, I'm quite happy with my style and technique and approach to the subject. Although I like to comment on other people's videos and encourage them, I'm afraid I do think I'm okay with flying, and so watching other people for inspiration isn't where I want to be at my age. So, inspiration, it might be a landmark that I pass on the way to various venues, a landmark that's unachievable, but then lots of them are achievable if we approach it and put the effort in. Once I have the inspiration, I may well fire up Google Earth, and that will give me a great idea of how far from one part of the venue to the next is, because as we all know, what looks a short way on a map could be a long way as a flight. So Google Maps is a great measuring tool, and I can easily measure from any possible takeoff point to the point of interest and back again. Google Earth might even give me clues to possible parking spots. And this is essential. Flying drones means we don't have to be on top of the landmark or object. Ideally we can see it, because anything that disrupts the video signal could be a problem. Although the drone I use, an original DJI Mavic Pro, it has amazing return to home, and I touch wood as it has worked so well in the past for me, got me out of a few scrapes. So looking on Google Earth, I can see takeoff points. I can start to appreciate elevations and distances, and I can certainly see the likelihood of coming across other obstacles, or in fact lots of people. I don't want to fly over people, and I don't fly over people. My perfect flight is to go to the object or the landmark, take the video, take stills, come back, and nobody knows I've been about. I don't want any obtrusive noise or anybody having their day spoilt with a noisy drone in the area. I have occasionally been close to people, but not over them, and it's always inadvertently. Getting back to Google Earth, taking screenshots, or then using information from Google Earth, I then can just Google the place or object, bring up the details, and even download a route. Download the route to my phone, and then I've got it for the day. In the past, I've taken iPads with me to venues, and it's been a mixed blessing. It's helped me find things. I was struggling to find the VYEN stones at one point. I could get close, but I couldn't find routes to fly and film. But then I did. And as I said earlier, lots of challenges, lots of challenging flights can become possible if you keep trying. So taking an iPad, it can be another tool in the toolbox, but it also relies on a GPS signal, and that's not always available. So knowing where you are in relation to a place, landmark or object can be very useful. Use all the tools at your disposal and make your way to the venue. There may be winds to consider, tides to consider, high tide, low tide, dependent on the venue. Again, that's given you clues to other sources. You want to know the tides at Redcar? Google it. You want to know the wind speed? Try and use an app. Things change from area to area, but my cherry tree gives me lots of clues about how high the wind is for quite an area surrounding where I live. I can travel quite a distance before the clues from the cherry tree moving are worthless. I've travelled large distances and then changed a flight because of conditions. I've arrived where I'm surrounded by trees, and so I can't get these video signal. And I've had to make of that what I could. It's very rare you can't take some sort of video, but there are lots of days when you can't take the exact footage you went out to, and that's part of the fun. Have I mentioned composing while in flight? Because that's what I do a lot. I know the venue, I know the landmark, I've researched it. Once I find where it is, and I'm happy about travelling to it and returning safely. There always seems to be a natural route around the castle or landmark, so that I can take in all of the features that I want to include. And I do include a lot of pauses because I fully expect the viewer to want to stop and enjoy the video at that point. It's pointless if it's just amazing view after amazing view. Let's have a few, sometimes not still shots, but pauses. Let's look up and down. I was out on the North Yorkshire moors last weekend, and at one point I was looking vertically down, and then I just tilted the camera more horizontally. Wow, the patchwork of fields that laid out before me was worth the day's petrol. Now, I can't be the only one that appreciates certain aspects like that. And if you produce a video with lots of highlights, I dare say people might not remember that patchwork. But there again, it's in your memory bank. And if it's on YouTube, I can always find it again and relive that day, that moment. So, a simple up and down flight turned into absolutely staggering beauty just with a tilt of the camera. Well, I guess I've talked enough about preparation. Hopefully you'll have seen a few of my methods, heard me talk at length about how I research a venue, and even more hopefully replicate and enjoy flying your drone if you own one, or maybe you're about to pull the trigger and purchase one, who knows. You don't need a state-of-the-art one to enjoy your day. Every tool in my toolbox is well used, and it'll always be with tech equipment as well. So, thanks for joining me. Join me again soon. Bye for now.